Hey everybody on YouTube, long time no see. I figured if I'm going to hop back onto the making of videos kind of game, I might as well take the opportunity to catch you guys up on where I've been, kind of do some general housekeeping for my channel, talk about the content I want to make, but also explain some of my thoughts that I've been having since taking kind of an extended break, but really in 2020, the months of January, February, and now we're nearly halfway done with March have been pretty hectic and chaotic, and my uploading of videos has been super irregular, and I just kind of want to talk about my thoughts about taking breaks from social media and catch you guys up on some things. So where have I been? Or why has the last few months been just kind of chaotic? So I'm down in the southern hemisphere. I'm in Chile, and so that means really from the holidays in December until the beginning of March, it's summer vacation season. And so we've had lots of family commitments, people's birthdays, people inviting us to the beach, which is really nice. But all these are time commitments. These take time. For example, we went out to a friend's house and she lives on the very, very outskirts of the city. Like, we have to take the metro train to get there, not the normal public transportation. But I'm glad we did, because we've been promising her to do a barbecue at her place for months. And we kept putting it off, putting off. And she works in the school system, so that means February is her summer vacation time, because the school year down here in Chile anyway is from the beginning of March until December. That's the kind of academic year, and so it's just family commitments and real life stuff got in the way. Also, I am in the middle of, or actually I'm at the tail end of, finally, writing my first chapter. It's taken me nearly a year to get this goddamn chapter done. I have the camera up on my laptop here at my desk, and I have 54 pages, including the bibliography or the works cited. So by the time I'm done writing this, which I have to turn this in on Sunday by 5 p.m., that's the deadline my advisor gave me, this thing's going to be nearly 60 pages long, which is double what my first draft of this chapter was. So editing this and rewriting sections and adding more sections to this chapter has been a time-consuming process, and I also have quite a bit of perfectionism that's tied up into how my anxiety works, and so I constantly have to keep that in mind as I'm writing, so it just takes me a long time, and the first chapter usually takes the longest. And this chapter is quite long. My advisor gave me a 30 to 50 page range, and so this is going to be 10 pages over, but this is the first draft that they're going to see, so I'm sure, you know, chunks of it is going to be cut out and edited and moved around and all that fun stuff that comes with revisions. So I've been writing this chapter and trying to make progress on it has been really time consuming. Then from March 4th to March 11th, my sister and her boyfriend came to visit me for a week, which was amazing because I haven't seen my sister since December 2018, so over a year at this point. And I'm used to going long periods of time without seeing my family members, even my immediate family members, because I grew up as a military brat. My father was in one branch of the military for like 20-something years. My mom was in a different branch of the military for nearly 10 years. And my dad grew up with his father also in the military, and so moving around and being far away from family members is just a thing. But I have to say, like, going over a year without seeing my sister, it was too long, and she was excited and her boyfriend was excited to come down because this is their first time in Latin America and South America. And we had a really good time. Unfortunately, our allergies and like getting sick and stuff was a thing, and I'll get into that here in a second. That's why I probably sound congested and look like I'm low energy right now. Her allergies were really bad, but we did get some good time at the beach, some time walking around and exploring the center of Santiago, and luckily the protests stuff and all that hasn't been too crazy, not as crazy as it was back in October, but things are revving up because Chile is actually, they're going to vote on April 26th if they want a new constitution or not, because they're still functioning under the constitution that was the dictator's constitution from, I think, 1980 was when he officially put that constitution out. I mean, it's been changed and all that throughout the years, but still. So the political protest movement in Chile is still happening, and now that campaigning for either approving the new constitution or rejecting the idea of having a new constitution, all of that is happening. But luckily they missed most of that. Coronavirus, or the COVID-19, is still a thing that's happening. Chile, at the time of this recording, as far as I know, Chile officially has recognized 33 cases, most of them being in Santiago. And so we had to keep that kind of stuff in mind. And so when all of us kind of came down with similar symptoms, there was that like moment of panic, like, uh-oh, we've been using public transportation and traveling around a lot. What did I touch? And then did I touch my face? And is that the cause of some of my symptoms? But I went to the doctor yesterday, and this is another reason why I've been kind of hectic with my video uploading. I got an x-ray done to see how my sinus cavities were doing, and they look fine. And so it turns out that we all at the same time developed these kind of allergies. I suspect it's allergies to air pollution. And for my partner and I, the allergies then turned into an infection. Like a mild but still kind of annoying, long-lasting infection. And so I'm taking antibiotics and I'm taking allergy medicine, and I have the nasal spray for the allergies, because I've never experienced allergies like this before. I was really convinced that I was sick with a cold because of how my throat felt, because usually with a reaction to pollen or something like that, my eyes are itchy and watery, my throat is itchy and watery, my nose is running, and I sneeze a lot. This time around it was just throat irritation and then just feeling exhausted and tired, and that's where the bacterial infection probably comes in. And inflammation in my throat, and waking up in the morning to very interesting colored mucus. I'll spare you the details, but yeah. So I'm battling a mild infection, I'm tired because of it, and now I'm still writing this goddamn chapter. And so that in a nutshell is where I've been. And you know, some things were really out of my control, like all the time commitments and stuff, and other things I chose not to make videos, or I chose not to invest much time in social media in general, both on my private accounts but also my accounts under the Student Witch name, because I wanted to enjoy my time with my sister or my time with friends and family here. And so while I've been taking all this time off, it's really prompted me to think about my relationship with social media, to think about how social media can sometimes be triggering for the social component of my anxiety, because I do have social anxiety. I do have that fear of, it's really a fear of being shamed, like the shame demon is a very strong demon that I deal with, and that's partially due to some experiences growing up and some unhealthy situations that we had growing up as kids, and some verbal and emotional abuse at the hand of one of my parents in particular. And sometimes, on social media, it can be triggering for that. Social media can definitely be triggering for anxiety. And my anxiety too, and my experiences growing up also make me very cautious when interacting and building relationships with people. I fear being intimate and building relationships with people. When I'm talking about intimacy, I'm not just talking about like sexual intimacy. Oddly enough, that comes very naturally to me. That's a very important aspect of my relationship with my partner, for example. But building friendships is hard for me because I've been burned a few times in the past, but also because of some abuse that I received growing up, and just a genetic predisposition to anxiety and panic disorders. And so social media, I can see how some people might find social media as an avenue to practice building relationships and overcoming those kind of obstacles and hurdles and fears, because you do have the safety or a sense of distance by working through the cell phone, through the camera, through the computer. But it can also become a source of stress and fear. Or at least that's how it has been on and off for me. I also have that nasty habit of comparing myself to others and seeing, on Facebook especially, my private Facebook, my personal Facebook account, that toxic comparison issue where everyone else seems to be living happy, healthy, successful, financially stable lives, and you toxically compare that image that they present to the world through their online platform to what you're going through in real life. And it's important to remember that, anybody on social media can present themselves as perfect. And actually, I would say that that image of perfection is often projected onto social media as a defense mechanism, because people suck. People can sometimes attack you if you do show a little bit of humanity online, especially. And so I totally get it. And there's just, the question of just healthy boundaries. Like, there are things in my life that I will never put up on the internet, obviously. And so no judgment from me as far as like how we choose to portray ourselves through our online avatars on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, on whatever, right? But it's important to remember that there's a real human behind the avatar. There's a real human in the physical world going through shit. Like, maybe, they might have just gotten into a fight with their partner, or maybe they're not on speaking terms with a parent, or maybe they're struggling to pay the rent that month, or maybe this or that, or maybe they have a health condition that they're just not publicly talking about, or whatever, I think that's true for a lot of people. And it's something important to consider once you catch yourself, or maybe just speaking for myself at this point, it's something I need to consider and remember when I catch myself slipping back into that nasty habit of toxic comparison and feeling that I'm inadequate, or that I'm not good enough, or that I'm not working hard enough, or this or that. And so my relationship with social media is complex, and when my anxiety is really bad, I just think about just dipping out of all of it. Just, never uploading another video to this account, or to never respond to comments, or just deleting even my personal Facebook or my personal Twitter account. You know, but that, and I've considered those things, and I think it's important to always consider that as an option, especially if you're someone like me who, you know, I don't use this channel as a way to promote a business of any sort. This is just me rambling on the internet. Yet another person rambling on the internet. Right, and participating in a way in an online community. That main community for me through this platform is, and through my Instagram, the witchy alternative spiritualities kind of community. And so I don't feel the same kind of pressure to upload as other people might, who might use this as a way to promote themselves, to promote their business, who depend on ad revenue and that kind of stuff. And so I don't feel too guilty or ashamed, or I don't beat myself up about it if I go 2 or 3 weeks without posting something, or even longer. And I have taken longer breaks in the past, right? But there's still a part of me that questions, or I think it's healthy for me to question why I'm doing this periodically, like every few months or so, or once or twice a year, whenever the question might come up, whenever I might be going through something in life that might prompt myself, or prompt me to ask myself, why am I doing this? And, you know, how is my anxiety, how might that be playing into the situation? Do I need to take a step back? Or do I need to become more active again? And now I'm moving into a period where finally all the chaos of the first 3 months of this year is calming down, and I'm feeling like I'm ready to get back into making videos again. So before I go into the videos that you can look forward to from me, and how I'm kind of going to try to organize the release of these videos in the near future, at least in the next 3 months or so, I want to mention that addiction is also an issue with social media. And I know about a year and a half, 2 years ago, Kelly and Maddox made a really good video talking about online or social media addictions, which I'll link down below because it's kind of a related topic. I might talk more in the future about my social anxiety in relation to social media, because this video here is just kind of rambly and just me kind of playing around with ideas, but also doing some housekeeping on my channel. So if you're interested in hearing more about my thoughts about social media and the internet, and how it's such a powerful and beautiful tool to bring people together, but it's also a powerful tool for tearing people apart. I mean, it's living in Chile at this particular historical moment where they're going to vote whether or not they want a new constitution, and the process for rewriting or writing that new constitution. And seeing the propaganda and how social media and stuff is being used as a tool for propaganda, specifically the propaganda to keep the current constitution, which, like I said, is a constitution that was the product of a dictatorship. Right, that has kind of burned me out a little bit from the internets, the interwebs, but also just the whole Trump phenomenon in the United States. I know 2020 is an election year in the US, and just seeing the type of options I have to vote for on the Democratic side of things, I'm not too happy about, and just how social media has been just a toxic thing, a very toxic thing. And so I have some thoughts about that. So if you're curious to hear me kind of go more into depth about that, let me know down in the comments below. Anyhow, housekeeping time. So, Fertility February 2020, which I just barely got to start in February. I only have the intro video up. It's going to be ongoing. But now that we're halfway through March, I think what makes more sense is for me to mix in witchy content with the fertility awareness content that I usually try to do in February. And in 2018 and 2019 I was able to do that, but with just all the commitments and work and visits that I had to deal with in the last 3 months or so, I wasn't able to stick to that strict of a schedule. And so I'm going to continue to make, and I have the list of the videos I want to make regarding the fertility awareness method and regarding celebrating my sexuality and how my use of the fertility awareness method has helped me to reconnect with my sexuality and helps me feel empowered and all that. But I also have a list of a whole bunch of witchy content that I still owe you guys, but also that I want to make. And so there's a part 2 of the Q&A that I still owe you guys. I know a few months ago someone requested a review of the Rumi Oracle from me, and that's something that I've been thinking about and taking notes about. So that's definitely a video that I would like to make because it's my favorite oracle deck ever. And I'm still working with the spirit model because I've kind of decided to set aside time in my spiritual witchy practice to kind of work through and experience, allow myself to experience each of the different models of magic according to chaos magic, right? And so I'm starting with the spirit model, which has been really interesting. I actually have a pre-recorded video talking about that. There'll be a part 1 and a part 2 to my experiences about that. And so I just have a lot of content that I would love to make now that things are calming down, and now that I'm about to turn in this chapter and I can finally move on to the next chapter, and now that social commitments are really calming down since the holidays. So that's where I've been. Those are some of my thoughts that have been rolling around in my noggin regarding social media and my relationship to it. And I'm just curious to see what you guys think. Have you ever taken a break from social media, and what were the reasons behind your break? What is your relationship to social media like? It's an interesting, I think I was born in the late 80s and I grew up in rural Kentucky, and so I know my experience isn't universal by any means, but I remember what the world was like before everybody had a computer, before nearly everyone, at least in the developed world, before everyone had internet connection, before cell phones even. I didn't get a cell phone until I was in college. And I remember what the world was like before social media. And now I think we've just normalized it so much, it's become such an important part of our everyday lives that we sometimes forget to step back from it and kind of analyze and evaluate our relationship to it. And for me, that's something important to keep in mind and to do periodically. But that's just me. That's just me. So what are your thoughts about all this? I'm curious to hear. So the next time you'll see me will hopefully be a fertility awareness related video, or it might be a witchy content related kind of video, but it will be soon. Next week probably. I think a weekly video schedule is doable for me now. And I'll try not to take such a long break again. So until next time, many blessings all. Bye.